I think the way to fix this just needs to be, there is no fix. Like, there is no 100% fix to this. But I think the best way to do it is to, and I think they will from now on, because I had talked to the guys running the events and stuff, and a lot of guys actually had a lot of the same complaints. And what they did was they took it to a vote after day one.
What's up, y'all? JR Raymond back again, coming to you from Bowler X Pro Shop and Training Center inside Waterford Lanes. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about lane crossings and why it can become an unfair advantage and just an advantage overall. And if you hit the wrong cross, you're screwed. Some people want to say it's whining. Some people want to say it's complaining. But I'm going to explain to you how it's actually not whining and how it is truly a bad look for bowling. And one of the reasons why it is actually a cause, in my opinion, as to why it can't be in the Olympics, because something like this is what causes an unfair playing advantage or an unfair playing field, because the field actually changes every single shot that goes down the lane. And you could sit there and you could say, well, everybody has to deal with it. And I'm going to explain to you, no, not everybody has to deal with it, because not everybody has the same cross. Who you're following is a big determining factor of what's going to happen on the lanes and whether your ball is going to go through the pins the right way or the wrong way. And then you got to figure it out. And a lot of the times we only have a couple of shots to actually figure it out. So you have a shot on each lane and you're basically guessing, where did they play? And even if you've seen where they were playing, you don't get to necessarily see your ball reaction until after you've thrown shots. And just because you even see that, now you have to make the correct guess with the right ball, the right rotation, the right speed. And you can say that is a skill, which it is, but if you're going to a pair that is broken down great and everybody does a really good thing to the pair, you have the advantage over somebody going to a pair where they're crossing the entire lane using surface that is crazy and everything else. So anyway, we're going to talk about all that here in a minute, but make sure to hit the link in the description. Go get yourself a I love mentally unstable bowler shirt, because I am a mentally unstable bowler. You can see that in all the posts and stuff that I make. If you are an unstable bowler, mentally unstable bowler, make sure to get yourself a shirt. If you have a wife that loves you, she should have one of these shirts as well. So yeah, let's talk about all those things here in a minute. Stay tuned.
All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about breakdown and how the lanes break down, why your cross needs to be good, how it can be affected with who you're following and all of this stuff. And there was a lot of confusion. A lot of people didn't understand why I was complaining about the crosses staying the same the whole week. And I wouldn't necessarily call it complaining. Okay, yeah, maybe it was complaining. I was complaining because I do think it's awful. I think that's a bad thing to have happen at an event that determines an awful lot, or at any event for that matter, really. When it comes to competitive bowling, we're talking about whether you make money or not, and it can be determined by who you follow. So it is a big deal. And so those of you that say, well, everybody has to follow different people, so everybody has to deal with it. Sure, but if you're following the same people every day who have the same characteristics every day, you're going to have trouble, especially if those characteristics of the people you're following don't match up with the things you're trying to do, or the things that the pattern is telling you need to do. If you follow a pair that, just to put it bluntly, doesn't have a clue, you're going to be in trouble. So when the scoring pace is 250 or 240, or even let's call it 230, if the scoring pace is higher, then you're following somebody who breaks the lanes down in a way that makes it difficult to score higher, you're in trouble if you catch those pairs. If you would notice my stats when I posted them on Facebook, and there's a lot of people that are trying to come at me on Facebook and stuff, you're failing. You're just failing miserably, but it's just because they don't understand what I'm talking about. So I'm trying to now explain exactly what we're talking about. But here, you can see on the screen I've got a couple of different ways that the lanes get broken down. So if we look at this left lane here, let's say I'm moving to a pair. Let's say I just bowled this red line will be an indicator of how I'm playing the lanes. Okay, let's just say I just bowled a game here, and I'm playing straighter up the lane. Let's call this the shorter pattern, we'll say. Let's say I'm playing straighter up the lane, and I just bowled 225 or 230 here. I'm right on pace with my first game. Probably made a couple of bad shots. No big deal. My fault, right? But then I come to a pair like this left one over here, where everybody played further left, using surface, throwing it at the gutter, and creating these little blue strips down here. You can see these right here are, it's carry down. It's where the lanes get tight. That's what you would call the muddy part of the lane, where they get a little bit wiggly. So you got to get your ball to read before there. But here's the problem. So when we have higher scores, that takes good entry angle. And good entry angle comes from, I guess you can't even really, I don't want to call it good entry angle. It's entry angle that's going to strike in the atmosphere, in the environment that you're in, in the environment that you're in. Okay, so when there's hang, when people are playing left and creating hang to the right on a pattern that's not supposed to have hang to the right, now you're in trouble. And you can sit there and you can say, yes, you should adjust. Sure, okay, that's great. But if I don't know where these players were playing, I'm in trouble, and it's going to take me some frames to figure it out. Now, having ball reps and scouting and stuff, sure, if I walk down, which I did multiple times, which didn't help at all, because if you're playing a short pattern like this on the left to where you are basically chopping up the middle of the lane and taking away hold, which is essentially what you're doing. By playing left over here, you're taking away any hold to the left. You have no opportunity to create hold. Now, any misses to the left will go through the face. Whereas on the right lane over here, where if everybody's playing further right and playing the lanes properly, you then create hold to the left and hook to the right. Because now, if I want to play this angle and I come over here, look at that. I'm throwing it into friction. I'm throwing it into where other people were playing. And now, if I miss left, I have the hold here, right? And if I miss right, it's friction over there still. So we're not in trouble so much. Whereas if we come over here to where people are playing the lanes incorrectly and I'm trying to play that same part of the lane, I'm throwing it across. Now I have to hope my ball gets through all the trash that they created. And if it doesn't, it's going to hook early and go through the face. If it does, it can still catch this hang over here. And now that's where the corner pins come into play. That's where the swish sevens come in, because now my ball doesn't go through the pins the right way because it's hitting the oil down lane. And you hit and you leave a flat 10, you make a move, and so you move a little left off that or whatever, or slow down. But remember, if you slow down, you're going through traffic. You're going through all the areas that people already threw bowling balls, and now it's going to read that traffic, and that's why you go from flat 10 to 4-pin on those reactions. And that's what I was dealing with all week long. And because I had to follow the same people who essentially had these same characteristics on every pattern, they were playing further left on all the patterns, and it just caused problems. And that's why crossing with the same people, it's not easy to handle. And it's really, honestly, not even a fair thing to make you cross, not with the same people, but cross behind the same people over and over again. That's where the trouble lies. And I think a lot of people are misunderstanding what I'm saying here. You think I'm complaining that I couldn't carry. It had nothing to do with carry. Like, I'm smart enough, I'm a good enough bowler, I can figure out how to get my ball to strike if given enough time. Unfortunately, in a tournament like Tour Trials, you're not given time. You have less than a couple of frames to figure the pair out because you're only bowling one game on the pair. So it's really decided by how the lanes were broken down in front of you. And sure, could I have moved way left on that lane and got left of everybody and just kind of did one of these where I was playing over here as well, and then let's just say I'm going over here and getting left of all this traffic now and playing the same area? Sure. But again, I'm still dealing with all this trash down lane, and it still makes it very difficult to get the ball to go through the pins from that angle when the friction starts so much earlier on a 35-foot pattern. So getting your ball to go through the pins correctly becomes very, very difficult when the lanes are broken down in specific ways. I know y'all have bowled tournaments to where it was just a house shot, but you've got pairs that are just impossible because pairs were broken down awfully. They were just completely trashed, and you had nowhere to go. You couldn't play straight because your ball went straight, and you couldn't play left because that's where everybody else played, and the ball and your ball just overhooked constantly. So what are you supposed to do? You're going to get 9 a lot, and you're not going to keep up. And this is where the lefty advantage comes into play too, because now when lefties don't deal with this stuff. There's not enough traffic on the left side to where they have the disadvantage of, moving to pairs where, the lefties have broken them down improperly, because generally they're moving to pairs where maybe there was one other lefty there, and he's only got one game on the pair, so he's not going to have enough time to really break the lane down. Whereas you're moving to pairs where they had all of practice to break the lanes down with 4, possibly 5 right-handers, and then they have the entire game of playing the lanes however they want to play them. Now, granted, again, you can say it's not their job to break the lanes down correctly for me or anybody in the field. 100% agree. Absolutely the truth there. The problem is now I'm following these people. It's the cross. It's the people that you're following every single day. And at every single time, it's the same games you're following them. Now, through the week, I got a little smarter, and I knew, okay, this is their characteristics, and my Game 4 scores got better, and generally it was my Game 4 score that was really bad because I was following that specific group every time on Game 4. But either way, the point is, if you're bowling in a tournament that requires 230 plus to keep pace in an event, and you're hitting bad pairs 2 or 3 games out of 6. When I say bad pairs, they're just pairs that if you bowl great, if you make the right decisions, you're bowling 220, you're still losing ground. And that's exactly what happened to me, I feel, in this tournament, is catching these pairs day after day after day. And my proof to this is, look what happened day 4. Day 4, all of a sudden we changed crosses, and now I bowl 200 over. Why? Why did I bowl 200 over? Well, because the cross was different. Who was I following? Well, now all of a sudden I'm following the leaders because I was in the middle of the pack. So my first jump went to where the leaders were. And each game after that, I was following the leaders. And then we finally came back to the pairs that we started on, or that, the lower end of the field actually started on. So you can sit here and you can say I'm complaining and all this. If you just don't understand what I'm talking about, that's fine. That's great. Go ahead. Call me a complainer, call me a whiner, but there's not very many people on tour. There's not very many guys out there that would disagree with exactly what I'm saying. This is one of the problems we face with the game is crosses like this. The playing field is constantly changing. It's not fair for everybody because you're hitting pairs at different times. It could be to where I follow that pair Game 4, and then all of a sudden by the time Game 6 comes around, that pair is really good because now you've got people that have come through and played them better and have changed the lanes enough to make them do the right thing. Now that pair is really good again. And sometimes there's just really bad pairs, and not everybody hits all the pairs. That's the other problem. So I'm not complaining. It is what it is. I mean, I made up a ton of ground. I was 500 back going into the last 2 days, and I got within 300 pins. So making up ground like that when the scores are high, scores were super high. I averaged 210 the first 2 days and got completely crushed by the field. So I was almost 500 pins behind the cut. Then I went into the tougher patterns, and because the scores were lower, the second day I was able to make up 100 pins or 60 pins, whatever it was, still going through the awful crossing. And because the scoring pace was lower, it was 210 a game. So now all of a sudden I'm bowling 210, 220, and those are good scores, not good enough to make up all the ground. But then we go into the last day and scoring pace is 2-0, 210, and now I'm bowling 220, 230 because now I have good crossing. Now I'm actually moving to pairs where guys are playing the lanes differently and doing similar things, and now you catch good pairs. So this is just one of those things. This is just how it is. It is what it is. Sometimes you get a good cross, sometimes you don't. It's just, I think the way to fix this just needs to be, there is no fix. There is no 100% fix to this, but I think the best way to do it is to, and I think they will from now on, because I had talked to the guys running the events and stuff, and a lot of guys actually had a lot of the same complaints. And what they did was they took it to a vote after day 1, and of course, everybody that bowled good, well, they didn't want to change the cross, so they voted not to change them. And then while the rest of us were like, yeah, no, this needs to change every day, we lost the vote. So they didn't change it until the last day, because that was their original intent, was to keep the crosses the same until the last day, and then you change that last day based on standings, which is what they did. And we don't know that going in. We don't know that's how they're doing it. So you can't say, well, you know what you're getting into when you sign up. No, I personally assumed, because it is common sense, just the right thing to do, is to change crosses every day, like they do at the World Series. Like, you change your cross every day. You're not bowling with the same people on every pattern every day. I think that is just, it's unfair to make it that way. I think it just, the other thing you can do, other than just changing the crosses every day, is to make it to where, like, the left lane goes left and the right lane goes right, and make the crosses do that. So just some of my thoughts on that. I'm not saying necessarily they did anything wrong for the tournament. I think they just had it set up this way, and that's just, it is what it is. And so we have to deal with it. And as professionals, that's what we're supposed to do. And that's what we did. So, well, my guy is here to drill a ball. So I am going to, I'm going to get out of here. I appreciate y'all listening, and until next time, hopefully give me comments below and let me know what you think of this. But until next time, I'm out of here. We'll see you.